Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of In the Dark. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, we got our big surprise at the beginning of the episode. Well, for one, the cold opening where it's like, oh, it's not just Murphy that's there. It seems like Felix is there too over Ben's dead body. And it's like, okay, wait, what? And 22 days earlier. So we are trudging along. So it probably will be like the middle of the season, if not near the end of the season when we kind of catch up to that month period. But regardless, the big surprise is we find Max's bag. I didn't see that coming. I'm like, literally everyone wants you. The police, he even talks about it later on, like, obviously Nia still wants you dead, and the cops want you because it's like, well, even beside the Dean stuff, which we'll get to soon enough, the cops also want you because you didn't hold up your end of the bargain, so your ass is, you're a fugitive, they're going to arrest you, so... But because at first I was like, wait, are you really coming back just for Murphy? It's like, no way. I mean, I know you love her and everything, but it's like, no, you gotta have ulterior motives. But it seems like, oh no, he's just here for Murphy, which is like very sweet and almost like a Romeo and Juliet type of way. Naive, but sweet, and that hopeless romantic that I am, I'm really down for that. But at the same time, I still get this tiny inkling like, there's got to be more reasons why you came back. It couldn't just be about Murphy. Maybe, who knows? And obviously, it's like you don't tell Jess or anything like that. She meets up with him and they start making out and get down to business and stuff like that. And it's interesting because at first she doesn't say anything about Dean or anything. So I'm like, are you not going to say anything about that? I was like, are you not going to say anything about your current situation? But then she does eventually tell him about Dean. But it's like, well, we can't do anything about it because if I take, there's no evidence to send Dean away anyway, but even if there was, then it's just going to be a situation of his daughter's going to grow up alone and without her dad, and even if he doesn't necessarily go away, there's going to be floating rumors about her dad being a murderer, so it's like, I can't do that to her, so it's kind of like a lose-lose situation, so Murphy's trying to make the best of it, but once again, not turning to Max, which once again, I brought this up last episode, he'd be the perfect person to talk to because he literally laundered Nia's money, so it's like, this would have been a perfect opportunity, but I guess it's like, that's my situation, I guess, and Murphy kind of talks about it later on, because I guess she's trying to juggle everything, trying to make everything work out, so I guess the last thing she wanted to do is drag Max more, and he's already got enough drama to deal with when it comes to Nia wanting him dead, that he didn't want to drag him back more in, this complicated business, but, nevertheless, Dean is now working narcotics. He gets a new partner. I was like, oh, I wonder who his new partner is going to be. Lo and behold, it turns out this freaking Gene. I was like, what? Because I brought up that last episode. I was like, this dude's going to be something important later on, isn't he? He's going to play some bigger role. I was like, oh, or maybe not. I don't know. But he's his new partner. And it's like, oh, Gene. He's like, really? Your name's Gene? He's like, I know. Gene rhymes with Dean. And he's like, well, you can call me, what was it, Detective Riley? What do I call you? What's your last name? What was it, Whitley? Wiley is what he said. And he was like, what? He's like, now it's Clemens, man. I'm just messing with you. And it's like, oh, good. And you can tell he's one of those talkative partners because he's like, hey, what happened to your face? A car accident. And it's like, well, it looks like you got punched, by an airbag. And it's like, huh. I mean, at first you're kind of like, oh, you enjoy it. Once again, it's that thing of you enjoy the back and forth. If Dean wasn't the scumbag he is, it's one of those hard things. It's one of those things when the bad guys oh, there's some fun stuff happening to the bad guy, but you remember, oh, you're a bad guy. It's not we can look past everything. It's like, no, you're a scumbag. It's literally you're the reason why your former partner Jules got murdered. So it's like you're a scumbag on so many damn levels. And speaking of the Jules situation, Darnell meets with Nia, and it's he's like, I want to ask about Tyson, and she's like, that fact of the matter is, he's like, I think it was a cop, and she's like, yeah, it was Dean, yeah, he was working for me, but that, you don't take out someone on me, and it's like, well, how are we going to handle that situation? It's like, well, I can't take him out right now. She's like, I literally just took out his partner. I was like, whoa. I didn't know Nia was going to be the one to drop this on Darnell like that. I was like, holy shit. And he's looking like, wait, what? And it's like, she's like, I already took his partner out to make it look like a suicide. So if anything happens to him, it'll be too much of a coincidence. It'll be too soon, so I can't do anything against him now. And Darnell's like, oh. So it's like, obviously for Darnell, he's like, I think I need a break from this. I just want to walk away from this. And Nia's like, okay. I hear rumors that Max is back in town. Fact of the matter is, that's your boy and everything, so you have to be the one to put him down. He's like, you've never asked me to do something like that before. She's like, yeah, well, the price to getting out of this, it comes at a hefty cost. So you want out of all of this, you're going to have to kill Max. Obviously, there's a complicated thing of, well, for one, Felix is off getting books. Trying to find out like how to launder money. He gets a book about laundering. It's like, because Jess was like, yeah, he won't even let me Google it, which I think in the long run, probably a good idea. I mean, I'm sure you could probably get away okay with laundering, like Googling how do you launder money, but that is probably something where they're like, nah, it probably sends up some red flags in the FBI or something like that. Like, I mean, when the time comes, they come searching for you, they're going to be looking through your computers and like, oh, look at this. You Googled how to launder money, you know? So it's, I don't know. But I love that he ended up getting like a shit ton of other books to try and cover up the fact it's like, no one would have thought anything if you just got the laundering book by itself. It's fine, dude. To be like, oh, you enjoy crime fiction or whatever autobiography or whatever the book is. Like, you enjoyed that. Cool. Move on with their lives. No one would have, but Felix overthinks things. I even love later on, it turns out one of the books he got was like about like how to make a woman's orgasm for like 6 hours or something like that. Because he ran into Chelsea because she's bringing her brother Ben over to work, and it's like, oh, and he literally sat there and did nothing all episode. Because I was like, did you even ask what your job title was? He's like, no. I even love later on he's talking to Chelsea, and Chelsea's like, oh, so how was he? It's like, yeah, he sucked it, but Felix is like, better than Murphy, and it's like. And she's like, oh, that's good. It's like, yeah, but that's not saying much. But nevertheless, and he thought, she's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh, I can't believe you're reading this book. And then he looks and sees that she's talking about the orgasm book. And I love that later on it's like, oh, she was actually talking about Sister of the Traveling Pants, which I also love the fact is that we are doing more and more about this whole like, Felix and Chelsea situation. You know, that'd be a good match. I mean, it's going to be a complicated thing because, well, Dean's a bad guy and she got with Dean and everything, but there was also the complicated thing of him being in love with Murphy, which you don't have that worry about being in love with someone else, but the complicated thing is you, much like Dean, are a criminal, so you're balancing your criminal life with trying to start a new relationship with someone. In fact, this is going to include a lot of lies. And even Jess is stressing about that this episode where she's like, oh, I can't handle like the fact is I got a secret that no one else knows. It's like, oh, maybe this person doesn't this and that. It's like, it's stressing her out because as we know, Jess is a terrible liar. She's super bad at it with her adorable tell of like her nose kind of wiggling a little bit. It's super adorable. But nevertheless, I do like that we do catch Felix actually reading it. I love when they're like painting Max's food truck later on, and he's like, oh my god, 85%, like when 85% of women climax in same-sex relationships to the 65 in hetero relationships. It's like, Jess, what's the secret and stuff like that. I also love that because obviously they're trying to come up with a plan now how to launder the money and everything. And I love when Felix is drawing everything. We got the ins and outs, and Jess starts laughing. He's like, "What's that about?" And she's like, "He drew boobs," and it's like, "Huh." And when you look at it, he's like, "Okay." And it's like, "So we got to do this." And I love Murphy explaining. So we got to make the nipple look like a boob. And Felix is like, yes, basically, yeah. It's a crude comparison, but the metaphor still stands. But I love the whole situation of like Hank and Joy stepping there, like, oh, how you guys? No, that's later on when because Joey was looking into stuff. It's like, oh, yeah, what were you? Yeah, we were just talking about his sex life. He's like, yeah. Because they're giving me great advice and stuff like that. But, it's like, they're like, wait, why are you guys here so early? And Felix is like, yeah, I punished them for missing so much work. I made Jess and Murphy come in early. They're like, yeah, this sucks. I hate you, Felix. And I'm like, I love their attempt to kind of cover up that whole situation. It is sad in the long run, but Felix having to fire Joy and Hank was actually heartbreaking because like even Murphy and Jess like, oh, you can't do that, but for him it's like I have no choice because if I don't, like, obviously, like, Guiding Hope is their world, it's their, like, yeah, they might have sold it off just so it could stay afloat and everything, but they still cared about it. And the fact is, the whole thought was like, oh, we're going to still be a part of it and stuff like that. It was already hard enough for Joy to hand over the keys and everything to Felix. We remember that. But now it's like he has to fire them, and it's just like, oh, that sucks. But I mean, to be fair, it is what he said. Like, he's like, I'm keeping them out of compromising position because eventually Joy is going to find out about what's happening, especially because she's looking into the books like, oh, look at this $100,000 discrepancy. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, look at this weird problem. Felix is like, oh, yeah. And it's like, eventually she's going to have to choose between, being involved in some criminal activities and making sure her daughter doesn't go to jail. So it's like, to prevent that situation, he fires them. So it's like, that sucks. Like I said, this is their world and everything. At the same time, Jess finds out about Murphy, and Max is like, wait, Max is alive the entire time. Because obviously she made that whole point, because obviously it was interesting because Jess kind of had almost like an existential moment, because she was like, honestly, Felix and you are the only ones I can be around, Murph. Like, I can be myself, because other than that, it's because I think for her, she feels like she doesn't really have, I mean, because truth be told, is outside of Murphy and Felix, we've never really met any other friends of hers. Like, other than this, the only other person in her life that we got to know was like Vanessa. So other than that, you're cool with Chelsea, but like, that's like, oh, your bar friend. Like, you don't hang around Chelsea that much, at least not that we're aware of. So it is a situation of like, it's a situation of like, she doesn't really have anyone else in her life, so it kind of makes her kind of think about that. So, but Murphy's like, no, like, if you ever need to talk about your feelings and stuff like that, I'll be there for you and stuff like that. But then obviously it upsets Jess later on, because it's like, you lied about something as important as Max being here, and it's like, yeah, really? Go ahead and be on that high horse about me lying about Max when, oh yeah, who went and took Nia's money? So it's like, yeah. So all the while that's happening, Dean and Jean, obviously they go to that locker. I'm talking about stuff way out of order, so I do apologize. But they go to the locker, find a rat. And I even love Jean being like, oh, I thought they only did that in movies, but apparently they do that in real life, and that's gross. I just love dude, I feel like I've seen that actor before. I just don't know what I place him in. Like, the actor who plays Jean, I have to look into it. He seems so familiar, and I can't remember what I know him from, but nevertheless, so it's like, okay, because like truth be told, the last person that was in that locker was Felix, Murphy, and Jess, but I guess they knew that, well, they know that Dean knows about it, so like they couldn't use it, so I guess they got news about him working on the police force again. I mean, to be fair, Nia kind of threw him to the wind, but I guess I was like, oh, look, apparently you bounced back. So it's a complicated thing of like, now it's like, well, this is a guy who knows a little bit about your operation, but now like the little about your operation he knew no longer tangible as a means to get to you. So that's a complicated mess. At the same time, like Max and Darnell confrontation, But I was curious to see what's dark, because obviously no matter what, that's still his boy. And even Max was like, I ran when Murphy was like, she wasn't sure that you were the one, because it's like, this was all set up long before me and you became friends. I was ratting on Nia, and the reason why like I bailed is because I would I thought you killed Tyson at first, so I was going to let you get that 30 years you would have gotten if that sting had went down the way it was supposed to. But it's like, no, the moment Murphy was like, I don't think Darnell did it, I bailed, so that you wouldn't go down for it. I mean, remember, the only reason why he got arrested in the first place was because of Jules, And so because of all that, like, Darnell kind of, pulls the gun down, and it's like, okay. So he's basically like, I got a friend who can hook you up. You got some of Nia's money, take it, bounce, right? Which we'll get to that later on, but because it's like, oh, you came back from Murphy. He's like, I know, man, but I love her. And it's like, Darnell can understand that, like him and Jules. And I was like, oh, which makes that just even more heartbreaking. But it's also interesting because despite everything, Gene's actually really, like, you kind of feel like, oh, man, Gene seems like he's kind of a goofball. He's actually really good at his job because he picked up the Max's truck that they had painted, but obviously they think it's, oh, Max coming back in town, which leads to Dean showing up at Guiding Hope, which Jess was like, you need to get the hell out of here, even telling Ben, make sure he never comes back here again. It's like, you know, it's like, we know what you've done, and it's not even like he tries to defend himself either. Like, it's not like, oh, I don't know what lies Murphy told. It's like, no, you know you're toast in their eyes, and he's just kind of like, I'm just here to do my. It's like, we don't give a shit of what your job is, bro. You killed Tyson. You're a murderer, because it's not just Tyson's blood that is on your hand. There's also another person's blood that's on your hand that no one is putting towards you yet. Because once again, you got your own partner killed. You set her up to die to save your own skin, because she wasn't going after Nia. She was going after you. But the argument could be taking you down would be going against Nia. So that's a whole thing. But regardless of all of it, he shifted it more so to, you know, be a means of looking after himself, you know, rather than looking out for Nia or whatever, you know, the case may have been. But so you have Jess like following him. It's a good thing that basically things didn't line up, because it's so interesting how like so much kind of plays and works well. Because the reason why Max switched hotel rooms, he got a hotel at a different place, was because Darnell found him. So it's like, if Darnell can find him, someone else can. So by the time Dean got there, it's like, oh, he already left. But once again, Gene on top of it, which interesting timing, because of the whole Briar Patch thing, that being a Gene, and now we got another Gene. But Gene being like, nah, I got it. I know exactly where he is. Jess convincing Murphy, like, you have to break up with Max, because even if he knows Dean's coming after him, he's not going to run away so you have to, because Dean's not going to stop until he gets him. And because the last thing you want necessarily is, because in the grand scheme of things, it kind of would work, because they could use Max as a means to help Dean take down Nia, but it's like, the last thing you're going to do is help him with anything. Even if Nia is their problem, she's an evil, but it's not like Dean's the lesser of two evils. We're dealing with two shitty situations of pure evil on both sides. So it's like, but Dean's like the biggest middle finger to him, because he killed Tyson and he got away with it. And, you know, so at the very least, Nia, well, she makes it seem like she would never do that to a kid. But what she keeps saying is, unless I gave the orders, that's what pisses her off about the Dean situation. He did it without her permission. That's all it is. It's not necessarily like, oh, you killed a kid. It's like, no, you did it without my permission. So obviously Murphy kind of breaks things off with Max, you know, saying what is true, but obviously not how she's really feeling. Because the whole thing of like, they can never have a normal relationship, because he'll always be on the run. And so like, can't really be happy, you know, building a relationship off that foundation. So having to break Max's heart. And luckily he leaves before Dean's able to get there. So kind of falling out of his grasp, you know. A lot of interesting things to kind of trail off about, like, you know, in so many directions. Like, for one, the fact is Darnell's like, all right, I did it. And Nia's like, okay, good. He's like, that's it? She's like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, is it really? No. It's going to be, like, she's going to have an eye on Darnell, because most likely what's going to end up happening is that Nia, either she has a feeling he didn't pull the trigger. She's probably going to have Sam, her right hand, deal with, try to figure out whether that really is the case or not. But also, Darnell's a liability, like, because her question, she's probably trying to question his loyalty, because it's like, the fact that you want to bail out and everything now makes me question, like, you know, whether you really have my best interest at heart. So either she might be keeping an eye on Darnell to see, like, oh, whether she needs to tap him out or not, because he knows enough about her operations. I mean, he might be willing to turn on her now, especially now he knows that Jules' death is on her. So, but he also knows, like, yeah, I'm just going to be signing my own death warrant, you know, because the fact of the matter is Nia's going to send people after me like she is Max. Now, there's also the thing of, hey, Max is, you know, bailing, right? Well, what about that 100 G's that he took from Nia, right? Oh, that's missing, because Murphy never told him about that money, because I guess they didn't think I guess she didn't think like, oh, he's going to need. So part of me wonders, is Max actually gone, or is Max still in town? Because it's like, shit, I don't have the money to disappear. I'm sure Darnell could have hooked him up and everything like that, but I'm still thinking he's going to need that money to start over. So, or, you know, Nia might get in her head, like, in case Darnell didn't pull the trigger, Sam, I need you to go back to where that money was hidden. And, well, no, because it wasn't, it was that other dude who had, yeah, it was the other dude that, well, she could still send Sam to go find where Max hid the money. see if he shows up, and he does, and that could, blow up everything. But like it's so interesting, like so many moving pieces at a time. They never actually, well, I think the closest thing they came up to with an idea with the whole laundering the money was like we go to the dogs to like groom them and stuff like that. Kind of like, we travel to the dogs rather than bringing the dogs here because they can't really do that because this is just a place for service animals. So it's like, because they need to like compensate for the influx of money, have a cash only business so they can put Nia's money in to, obviously fix the books to make it seem like everything's in order to kind of compensate for the money that they're laundering and stuff like that. Like I said, there's so many moving parts here that I'm like, that's all, like I said, it's always interesting how like one thing kind of ticks down the road and kind of affects other stuff, so it's like, the fact is that, like I said, is Max gone? Maybe he did just 100% disappear, but I don't think so because he doesn't have that money. So he's going to still be in town despite everything. And this also presents an opportunity for them to be like, hey, Max, okay, fine. The truth is we're caught in a situation with Nia. It's like crap. It's like he wants to use the money to leave, but he can't because they're using the money because it's actually Nia's money and now it's being circulated. So he can't take the money because if he takes the money, Felix, Jess, and Murphy, and most likely her parents are dead. So there's that whole snafu. But it just could, once again, if he is still in town, if he didn't just bounce without the money, this would be a good opportunity to pump him for information about, how you do this whole money laundering thing. So that could be a thing. But like I said, also see what Darnell is up to in this. Like, he might not work with Dean because also knowing that Dean's the one that killed his cousin, so it's like, I mean, dude, and also the complicated thing of like, oh yeah, Dean's also responsible for killing the woman you love too. So it's like, so that was on Nia, but it was also on Dean. So it's like, he doesn't know that about the Jules thing. He just knows about Tyson. But I'm curious to see what he's going to do. Because like I said, this would be kind of a good, because he can't be connected to like Murphy and them laundering money because apparently he's out of the business. So, because obviously like she didn't want to bring Darnell into this anyway, just because Nia doesn't want anyone else involved. Like no one else is supposed to know about what they're up to either. So a lot of really, really interesting things going down. I'm ultimately curious to see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.